first tear slid down Harper's cheek before she even realized she was crying. It was supposed to be a night filled with hope, maybe even healing. But instead, she sat alone at a corner table in a warmly lit restaurant in Colorado Springs, watching the man she had been set up with hurry out the door without even glancing back. His coat swung behind him as he disappeared into the swirl of holiday lights and drifting snow outside. Around her, laughter, candlelight, and the soft glow of Christmas decorations painted the room in warmth she couldn't feel. Her hands trembled as she tried to steady her breathing, but the ache of another disappointment settled in her chest like a cold stone. She had promised herself this year would be different, that she would try again after the painful breakup that had shattered more than just her heart. Yet here she was, abandoned across a table of untouched food on Christmas Eve. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us good people still exist, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps the channel reach more hearts. Harper tried to gather herself as she stared at the empty chair across from her. Her blind date, a co-worker's cousin named Mason, had seemed friendly enough for the first 20 minutes, until he casually mentioned he wasn't looking for anything serious. His eyes drifted past her every few seconds, and she could tell he wasn't really listening. When she finally admitted she wasn't ready for casual, that she wanted something meaningful, he offered a polite smile, stood up, mumbled an excuse that didn't even sound real, and left. Just like that. As if her feelings were inconvenient. As if she were an interruption rather than a person. She pressed her palm against her cheek, trying to stop the tears before anyone noticed. But then she heard the soft shuffle of small footsteps approaching her table. Harper looked up, expecting a waiter, but instead saw a little girl no older than 5 standing in front of her with a shy smile and a knitted stuffed bear in her arms. The child's blonde hair was tied in a small ponytail, her holiday dress bright red with white trim. She looked like she had stepped straight out of a Christmas card. Before Harper could compose herself, the girl's tiny hand reached for hers, warm and gentle in the way only a child's touch could be. Then the girl softly placed her other hand over Harper's and held on as if she were protecting something fragile. Her eyes were bright, innocent, and full of a kindness Harper hadn't felt from an adult in a long time. Behind the girl, a tall man with soft brown eyes and a calm presence approached slowly, watching with concern. He seemed unsure whether to intervene or let the moment unfold, and something about his expression, gentle worry mixed with quiet understanding, made Harper's heart tighten again. Harper blinked back her tears as the little girl continued staring at her, as if she could sense her sadness without needing to understand its details. The child's small voice carried a sweetness that seemed to melt the noise of the restaurant around them. She lifted Harper's hand slightly, almost as if asking permission to stay. When Harper didn't pull away, something inside her cracked open. The man finally reached them, offering an apologetic smile. He introduced himself as Owen and explained that his daughter, Rosie, had a way of wandering toward people she felt needed a friend. He seemed both embarrassed and grateful for her compassion. Harper tried to return the smile, but the weight of the evening kept pulling her back down. Still, Rosie didn't let go of her hand. The little girl simply stood there with a soft determination, clutching Harper's fingers as if anchoring her to something she didn't yet recognize as hope. Owen gently asked Rosie to come back to their table, but the child shook her head stubbornly. She looked up at Harper with the same expression she might give a lost puppy, her small eyebrows pulling together with concern. She whispered something so simple, yet so unexpectedly powerful, that Harper felt her whole body go still. The little girl asked her to stay. Harper's chest tightened. She hadn't realized how deeply she needed someone, anyone, to show her a sign that she wasn't invisible, not disposable, not easy to walk away from. She glanced at Owen, half expecting him to gently guide Rosie away, but instead, he offered her a warm, if cautious, smile. He didn't look annoyed or impatient. He looked kind. Owen explained that they were waiting for their Christmas Eve dinner to be served, just the two of them, since it was their first holiday without Rosie's mother. Harper felt her breath catch. She hadn't known them for 5 minutes, but suddenly she understood the quiet heaviness in the man's eyes and the instinctive tenderness in the little girl's hand. Loss recognized loss sometimes. Grief saw grief even when words weren't exchanged. Harper didn't want to intrude, yet the sincerity in Rosie's eyes made it impossible to simply walk away. Owen invited her to join them, not out of pity, but with a genuine warmth that made her feel safe. Harper hesitated for a moment, but something inside her whispered that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't meant to spend this night alone. She accepted the invitation softly, allowing Rosie to lead her by the hand to their table. As they sat together, the warmth from the nearby fireplace reflected gently across Rosie's excited face. Harper felt her heart slowly settle. Owen spoke with a calm steadiness, his voice carrying a kindness that soothed her bruised emotions. Rosie chattered happily about her stuffed bear, the Christmas cookies she helped bake, and the snowman waiting outside that she and her dad built earlier. Harper found herself smiling. Not the forced smile she'd worn earlier, but a genuine one that reached her eyes, even while traces of sadness lingered beneath the surface. Owen didn't press her about what had happened. He didn't ask why she'd been crying or who had hurt her. Instead, he simply created a space where she could breathe without explaining, rest without justifying, and smile without feeling guilty. They talked about simple things, the food, the decorations, the snowfall outside. Yet each word felt healing because none of it required her to pretend. For the first time in months, Harper felt seen. Throughout the dinner, Rosie clung to Harper's arm with the comfort of a child who trusted instinctively. Owen apologized lightly each time, but Harper reassured him that she didn't mind. In fact, she realized that the little girl's affection was lifting her out of the dark place she'd been trapped in. Rosie's innocence reminded her that love didn't always come from the places you expected. Sometimes it came from strangers, from connection, from a child who sensed your loneliness and chose to hold your hand. As the evening went on, Harper learned that Owen had lost his wife, Clara, 2 years earlier after a sudden illness. He tried his best to be both mother and father to Rosie, but holidays were especially hard. Harper felt a pang of empathy deep in her chest, recognizing the resilience beneath his gentle exterior. He hadn't pushed forward because it was easy. He had done it because he had no other choice. Harper shared that she had moved from Arizona to Colorado Springs after her long-term partner ended their engagement. She had hoped to rebuild her life here, but everything felt heavier than she expected. Saying the words out loud made her feel raw, but Owen listened with a quiet empathy that didn't make her feel judged or weak. By the time dessert arrived, Harper felt as though she had known them far longer than a single evening. She found herself laughing softly at Rosie's stories and admiring Owen's patience as he listened to his daughter ramble about Christmas lights and marshmallows. Harper's heart softened with a warmth she hadn't anticipated. When dinner ended, Owen insisted on walking her to her car because the cold had grown sharper outside. Rosie held Harper's hand the entire way, swinging their arms gently between them. The snow fell in soft, glittering flakes, illuminated by streetlights and Christmas decorations. Harper's breath fogged in the air, but the warmth of the moment wrapped around her like a gentle blanket. At the car, Harper bent down to thank Rosie for inviting her to dinner, but the little girl only hugged her tightly and told her she didn't want her to be sad anymore. Harper's eyes stung again, but this time the tears felt different. Softer, lighter, full of something like hope. Owen stood quietly next to them, his breath clouding in the cold night, watching the moment unfold with a softness in his eyes that made Harper's heart flutter unexpectedly. He thanked her for accepting Rosie's invitation, saying it meant more than she knew. Harper smiled through her tears, realizing how deeply the evening had changed her. She had expected Christmas Eve to be another reminder of everything she'd lost. But instead, It had become a night that reminded her of everything she still had the chance to find. As Harper got into her car, Rosie blew her a kiss, and Owen gave her a gentle nod that felt like a promise. A promise that sometimes life gives you unexpected moments of grace, especially when you feel least deserving of them. Harper drove home with the warmth of their kindness filling the empty spaces in her heart. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew this night wouldn't be the last time their paths crossed. Something had shifted. Something healing, something tender, something quietly extraordinary. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly helps this channel keep telling stories that matter. Before the ending, please leave a comment telling, would you have stayed if a little girl held your hand like Rosie did? And with tea,